From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
Still takes your breath away. 50 years ago today, Walter Cronkite delivered that devastating news to the nation. Really an unforgettable moment in our nation's history, and many Americans remember exactly where they were on November 22nd, 1963, the day an assassin's bullet took the life of JFK.
It was also a Friday back then, just like today, and to this day, there's still debate about who killed the president. CNN's Tori Dunnan shows us the conspiracy theories and how JFK will be remembered today.
The motorcade moves into the downtown area.
November 22nd, 1963. The world watched the news in horror, then grieved.
A shocked nation weeps.
The assassination of John F. Kennedy forever changed the country and the city of Dallas.
It was a November warm day.
Hugh Ainsworth was a 32-year-old reporter for the Dallas Morning News. He witnessed the assassination.
It was pandemonium because we didn't know who was shooting, how many were shooting, or where the shots were coming from.
And this headline, sort of says a lot. Tom Huang is the Sunday editor for the Dallas Morning News. Headlines from that chaotic week reflect the pain, anger, and confusion of the time.
Eventually, people across the country began to say, well, is Dallas the city of hate? Are we blaming Dallas for the killing of JFK?
This is the first shot.
Many are marking the anniversary of the assassination by reliving that fateful day, looking up at that infamous 6th-floor window.
That is the former Texas School Book Depository building.
And taking tours like this one that help people understand what it was like to be here in Dallas on that day some 50 years ago.
And right here is where the shots rang out.
Memories that still bring people to Dallas.
It took me right back to 1963.
Honoring a young president whose life and legacy were cut short.
It was just a very great shock.
So Jeff and Angela, obviously this is going to be a very solemn event here in Dallas today. In fact, it's the first official event that the city of Dallas has ever held honoring the president. And I can tell you that many people here in town are obviously talking about this. If you walk here in Dealey Plaza, you can definitely feel that sense of history. And let me show you this real quick. This is one of the papers here in town, and they've decided to reprint the front page of the paper from the day after that tragedy happened.
Tori, I know there's going to be a moment of silence today in Dallas on Dealey Plaza, the moment when JFK was shot. But what else can we expect from some of the ceremonies? In particular, historian David McCullough, he'll be reading some things there.
You're exactly right about that. He's going to be reading some of the president's speeches, some excerpts from the speech, but perhaps the biggest moment that people will be looking to is the unveiling of a memorial here in Dealey Plaza. And we don't know a whole lot about what that memorial is going to look like, but I can tell you, we know there's going to be an inscription on the bottom, which will be the last paragraph of the speech that President Kennedy was supposed to give here in Dallas when he was on his way to that speech and ultimately never gave it.
How about the sense of tourism there? Is it ramped up this week? You've been there most of the week. What's that like?
Oh yeah, there's a ton of tourism here this week. We actually went on that trolley tour, which you may have seen in my story. It was packed. They're having something like 8 to 10 tours a day, and they say that there's still about 20% of people they won't see. Lots of people walking around and really trying to witness history once again.
Tori Dunnan reporting live right there near Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas. Thanks for the insight there. What a day, what a time frame. I didn't know that they had not remembered the president in any way, not the 25th anniversary.
You would think they would have done it before that.
Nowhere along the way. It's interesting.
Well, you know, many people remember exactly where they were the moment JFK was shot, but there's one Fairfield County man who was there when President Kennedy's body arrived back in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, the man highlighted in this picture here from the Newark Advocate, 82-year-old Chuck Draper, who now lives in Carroll. And he recalls feeling how the nation lost a great man that day.
I believe that we realize now that we've really lost a friend. He was more than just a president. He was like a brother. He was like a son. He was like a good neighbor that lives next door.
Now in this picture, Draper is on the bottom left. He is seen putting Kennedy's coffin into an ambulance. You can see Jackie and Robert Kennedy right there behind him as well. And as we look at headlines from that day, this is what the Columbus Dispatch, the Evening Post, looked like.
Wow.
The Evening Dispatch, I should say, this edition, that day.
From November 22nd, 1963.
JFK dead. I've been reading all the headlines here this morning. Very interesting.
Certainly a keepsake if you still have it around. But, you know, every paper here around the country led with the same story from today. Looking at the New York Times this morning, it reads, Kennedy is killed by sniper as he rides in car in Dallas. Johnson sworn in on plane. That's the headlines there.
To the scene of the crime, the Dallas Morning News on this day, 50 years ago. Kennedy slain on Dallas Street. Johnson becomes president.
And back to the president's roots, the Boston Globe's headline on that day, shock, disbelief, grief. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, born in Brookline, Massachusetts, shot and killed in Dallas, Texas at age 46. And there is much more honoring the 50th anniversary of President Kennedy's assassination today. We're going to have much more later on 10 TV News this evening and also online at 10tv.com.